Before we hop into the video, I just want to say that I have always wanted to do a collaboration with someone with CF, talking about their experiences, having honest, open chats about physical and mental health. And I'm honestly so grateful to James for coming up to film this video in person. Now, I know that there is a risk of cross-infection with this, but we've met outside, which reduces that risk. We're both very aware of the bacteria that we both have or don't have, and neither of us cough anymore, which is crazy. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, this is James.
Hi. You cannot use that.
I don't know how to start this.
Getting camera shy, are you?
You're not looking at me. Just do that for the whole video.
Alright, go.
Okay, so it's CF week here in the UK, and today, doing something a little bit different. I'm talking to the one and only James Hetfield.
Can I look at you now?
Yes.
Alright, cool.
And we're just going to have a chat about CF-y things, really.
Yep.
Because you have CF, right?
The last time I checked,
right,
yeah.
A bit awkward if you didn't have it.
A bit underqualified for the role, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to explain a bit about you first, or...?
Not really.
Fair enough then.
I can if you want.
Yeah. Okay, so when were you diagnosed?
I was 2 weeks old.
Oh, were
I was
you?
lucky, yeah.
Oh, okay. Very early then.
Absolutely.
It's the only question I've got.
Cool, next.
How are you doing with your CF?
I'm doing pretty well, I think. Can't grumble, that's for sure.
Well, you do.
I'm not one to complain.
Okay, so let's move on then. I think we should probably start with the obvious question that a lot of people are probably thinking right now is the whole cross-infection issue. Technically, 2 people with CF can't meet, but here we are, so it's a bit awkward, isn't it? What's your view on cross-infection?
I mean, I think I was probably the last of a generation where mixing wasn't an issue, particularly growing up.
Right, okay.
If I was in hospital, in the ward that we all got put on, there was like a balcony.
Right.
With 4 beds on, and if they had 3 or 4 girls or 3 or 4 boys in at the same time with CF, then we'd all get put on the balcony together, play together, and yeah, it was
It's just a different time back then.
completely normal, yeah. So in America it's 6 feet, the rule, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah, 6 feet. This is the same here,
Whereas-
isn't it?
I don't think
Well,
so.
what do you think it is here?
I think they're a bit more strict on it here,
Oh,
aren't they?
just not mix. Oh.
Yeah, I
Can you
think
off them,
Yeah,
please?
sure.
When I grew up, it was very strict. Like, can't meet anyone with CF. So I think that's how I kind of, I don't know, approached it when I kind of entered the CF world. If I would see someone with CF, I would like physically step back.
I think it's personal preference though, isn't it?
I think it is.
You're aware of the risks.
Yeah.
We're outside.
You're right, it's definitely personal preference, personal choice. And I think it's absolutely fine if people don't want to mix. But equally, I would never, like, I'm not endorsing
Yeah,
people
absolutely,
mixing, not
yes.
telling people to, you know, it's absolutely fine, because that's not my place to say. I think it's just up to
It's up to the individual.
you, yeah.
Yeah.
Old enough and ugly enough to look after yourself.
Speak for yourself.
The biggest issue with cross-infection, of how cross-infection could happen,
Yep.
is through coughing. Would you say that?
Yeah, because it's gonna.
And it comes
Projectile,
from your
isn't it?
lungs when you cough. Right?
Yeah.
And neither of us cough anymore.
I think, neither of us are coughing. We both feel well within ourselves
Yeah.
today and the weeks leading up to today. It's not like you're really chesty and I'm sat here next to you.
Yeah. No.
That would be stupid.
Yeah, that would be stupid. Okay, so actually, I do think we had a question about cross-infection.
Okay.
I know that people with CF can't mix together, but why? I think we covered that.
I think so.
The
Could
bugs in our
just
lungs could get in.
pass
No,
infection
I haven't
to
really
each
said
other.
that very well. The bugs in our lungs. Oh no, I just said the exact same thing.
The potential infection in your lungs, if you have any.
Yeah, could cross.
Correct.
But you don't have anything at the moment, do you?
No, so since I started Kaftrio, every sputum sample has come back with no infection in it.
Negative, it's incredible. It's quite nice because you have like a connection.
Yep.
You don't have to, I remember you said something to me once that you don't have to explain, like give a whole backstory on why you take
Yeah,
this.
so the thing I find is if you're talking to somebody about CF who doesn't have CF, you might just want to tell them like a 2-minute story, but
Yeah.
you have to tell this like half an hour backstory about CF so that they'll understand the 2-minute story, and then you're just like, no, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. Let's talk about work. How has CF hindered work life? Or does it hinder work life?
Yeah, I can remember going for job interviews when I was sort of 16, 17, and I was upfront about my CF. I kept not getting the job, but I basically knew it was because of CF.
Oh, really?
That was the issue, yeah.
But they never said?
They never said, but it was obvious. Like, I was doing a electrical and electronic engineering course. I went for an interview at one place local to me, and the guy interviewing me said, "Oh, actually, you know, what we do here will be perfectly in line with your course, because although it's a mechanical product, it is a lot more electrical and electronic these days than mechanical." As soon as I mentioned my CF, I could tell like the tone of the interview changed. When they rejected me, they basically said the exact opposite and said, "You're doing electrical and electronic course, but our products
So
are
just an
mostly
excuse.
mechanical." And it's like, well, that's the opposite of what you said in the interview, but okay. And then the first interview I went to, and I didn't mention my CF, I got offered the job before I left the building.
Doing the job that you do now as a mechanic.
Engine tester.
Engine tester. Do you work in like dusty environments or?
Yep, it can definitely be
Yeah.
dusty. There's PPE for every kind of situation you find yourself in, really.
Was that before COVID? Or?
Yeah, we've always had equipment provided for PPE. Where I work at the moment, I kept my CF a secret for a long time.
Okay.
I always felt that it could jeopardise things or make things more difficult. There was a period in 2009 when I was particularly unwell, and I probably spent more time in hospital than I did at work.
Really?
Yeah, but still only a handful of people knew until very recently. I'd got to the point where I was sick of hiding it, and I think really I'd earned the respect of the people I work with, and it got to the point it wasn't really going to be a problem anymore. I was accepted for the way I am.
Do you find that, I mean, this is what I always used to find, in my mind I would blow things up like massively, like, oh no, everyone's gonna hate me if they know about this, and then when people actually find out, they're just like, oh yeah, they care, but it's not like a big deal to them.
I think for me it kind of made me think, well, if I'm open about this, then it's going to make me top of the next redundancy list kind of thing.
So do you think people will look at the CF rather than you as a person?
Probably it's fueled by my experiences of being knocked back for jobs purely because of my CF. I think it probably makes me think that despite the fact that I've been really pretty well for a long time now, I think maybe it will make people look back at a period when I wasn't well and think, oh yeah, well, what if he gets sick again or something like that. I think, like you say, I mean, now that people know, they're interested, and they care about me being well, but they don't care enough that it's a problem. It's not a problem. It's not an issue.
That's
so
good.
I think I definitely blew it up in my head a bit more than it needed to be. But
I think we probably all do. I've always been very upfront with CF in jobs.
well, that's what I wanted to do, but then it got to the point where I was like, I can't if I want to get a job doing what I want to do, basically.
Do you think, like, as kind of like the world's evolved and people's awareness
Yeah, I think it would be better today than it was back then.
Yeah, I feel like that's the same as well. But I know, and I've been for interviews before, and I've said about CF, and I might be hospitalised for a couple of weeks.
Sure.
I think one of the comments I got was, "It's not really ideal, is it?" And I was like, "Not ideal for who? For you? Oh, okay. See you later then."
It's not a deal for anyone really, though, is it?
I guess with dog walking, there's a lot more freedom in that. But if I was to wake up feeling pretty shit, I'd still have to go out and do the walk.
Okay, sure.
Because there was no one like at that short notice to cover. I've always found that really difficult.
I think you definitely feel like a massive sense of responsibility for that sort of thing. Like, if I wake up and I don't feel well, then I think, but if I don't go to work, who's going to do my job today?
Right.
And typically there is nobody, and then that puts pressure on the people I work with, which then could cause them to resent me in theory. And
So then would that make you then feel guilty?
yes.
So then you'd go in anyway?
Yes.
And then does that make you feel better? Or does it make you feel worse?
Mentally, physically?
Both?
Mentally better, physically worse.
Right, okay.
And then you just spend your whole weekend recovering because you went to work when you shouldn't have done.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did your mum send any in you?
She said one, I can't remember what it was because she told me on the phone.
Oh. Sorry, Joan. Is it Joan?
Yeah, it's Joan. But I can't call it. I get in trouble. Sorry, Mum, Joan.
No, you can't call her Joan then.
No, she gets upset.
How does CF affect relationships?
You tell me. You got a flower on your head.
Have I?
Yeah.
Is it gone?
No.
What?
I can't my knee, so I would swat it for you, but
Yeah, I think
it's gone
you're
now.
having me on, aren't you?
No, it was there. It's gone now.
I'm going to check that later.
Yeah, it'll be there.
How does CF affect relationships? I think I was always very sort of closed about CF growing up. Were you? Or?
I don't remember being that way, but apparently I was. Went through a phase of it.
So did your friends know about it at school, that sort of thing?
Yeah, my friends knew about it at school. I don't know if they really knew what it entailed, but they knew that I had it.
Okay.
Sure.
For me, no one knew. I kept it pretty locked down.
Yeah.
So I think when it came to dating, it became a real issue. I think I didn't say anything until like the third date or something, but I basically had to sort of push myself into it.
Sure.
So I had an annual review that morning, and then I remember he asked, "Oh, what are you up to today?" And I said, "Oh, I'll tell you later." So I kind of set myself up to
So you had to say something.
So I had to say it. And again, I built it up so much in my mind. I was so nervous, and when I did tell him, he was like, "Oh, all right, okay." That was it. I think what?
It's this kind of thing that people don't realise about, probably not just CF, but having any condition really, is the mental side of it and what you can go through. You know, typically you look at a disease which has physical symptoms and you just focus on the physical symptoms. You don't appreciate the whole picture.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I think we have quite a few mental health questions.
Okay.
And even like doing crayons. Like
Crayon.
No, we're going to get onto that as well. We're going to get onto that. Is it crayons or is it crayon? Because, okay, if you...
Oh, we're having this debate now.
We're having it now.
All right, let's go.
We're going to get it out now. So I've got one crayon. If I pour handful, it's crayons.
No, that is like 10 crayon.
No, it's crayons. Because it's the plural of crayons.
Yeah, the plural of crayon is crayon.
Crayons.
Crayon.
Who thinks crayons and who thinks crayon? Put it in the description bar. No, in the comment bar. That's the thing. I'm good at YouTube. Put it in the comments thing and
tell Kate she's wrong.
I will win. Please, I want to win. Anyway, we've kind of died.
Yeah, so this was relationships, wasn't it?
I really struggled even with taking crayons if we went out for food or even just doing naps. Like, I would get seriously like paranoid because I never opened up to anyone before.
Yeah, I've never shared that.
So it was like, oh, now I've got to share this with.
Yeah, it's really raw if you've never shared something like that as well.
I think it was really hard, especially doing that like later on in life. But I'm curious to know for you as a man, how did you find it? Could you open up easily?
I think generally, particularly when I was younger, I was well enough that I could hide it if I wanted to.
Right, yeah.
But obviously, the same thing with the crayon. You neck a load of them and you're going to get questions, aren't you?
Yeah, because you do, not that I have seen you do it, but you do have quite a lot of crayons.
Sorry?
Crayons.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that always, you're not going to do that and get away with not having questions on it, are you, basically? Yeah. But equally, you don't want to not do it because you'll be in trouble, don't you?
Yeah, the alternative is not fun.
No, it is a guaranteed very loose bowel movement.
Yes. Perks of having CF.
Absolutely. I always found people pretty accepting of it though, and I always had the view that if they weren't, then they're not the right person for you anyway, and you're wasting your time if you find out that early on that it's an issue. The biggest thing I found actually was, and this doesn't just go for partners, but even like a boss or something, if you tell them, the first thing they're going to do is go on Google.
Yeah.
And then you're like got this list of symptoms as long as your arm, most of which you don't have if you're lucky enough to be as well as we are. Yeah, I remember I told my boss once, and I said, Google it, but you know, I don't have most of it, so if you're not sure on anything, just come and ask me.
Okay. I remember specifically telling Tom not to Google it.
Okay.
I was like, don't Google it. Don't Google it. Because I feel like you'd learn better from me.
You'd learn better how it affects you from you, for sure. Yeah.
I feel like you're coming into the sun.
Yeah, it feels like it.
So I think you're going to have to move around. Okay, we're going to shift. Oh, you're getting too close.
Do you need to adjust the cameras now?
Yeah, I do.
Strange,
I feel like that's better. Although the sun's still going to come.
Oh, yeah.
So we're just going to have to keep on moving.
Yeah, we're
basically
do a lap of the table.
Yeah. What's the one thing you think people most underestimate about living with CF?
Just the day-to-day living it, and all the ways it can affect you.
Can you explain a bit about that?
You go through periods where you're not well, or your chest feels rubbish, and you've got to just get up and put a smile on your face and carry on.
For me, it would be the mental side of it. When I was growing up, it was never spoken about.
Yep.
Like, I'd never heard of the words like depression or anxiety or anything like that before.
Yes. Yep.
I just feel like if it had been more of a conversation back then it would have helped me to sort of process and understand and become aware of it. Whereas there was just nothing, so I always kept it very buttoned down. Until now, I'm all over the place now.
We know. Next.
So, as a male/female, female,
Which am I?
male, what insecurities do you experience with CF?
Yeah, before Kaftrio, I used to be really bloated.
Well, you're not now.
Fat, right? Oh, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a bully. You hurt my feelings, isn't it? Men have feelings as well. This is what we're learning today.
Oh, don't say that. That makes it sound really harsh. It's your plan all along, isn't it?
You've got to keep all this in now. Yeah, I used to get very bloated, which can actually just make you look fat even though you're not, and the rest of you is really skinny.
Yeah.
Certainly before Kaftrio, I massively struggled to have any muscle basically.
Okay.
So my arms were super skinny.
Did you do any exercise to try and...
Yeah, even like targeted exercise, just never used to do anything. So basically, you know, I look like a stick insect with a massive belly.
Yeah.
And it's just not a good look, is it?
Yeah, okay. I have always struggled a lot with coughing anxiety, really, even before the pandemic. Have you always struggled with any... Have you ever struggled...
Can you ask me a question? I will answer.
Have you ever struggled with the coughing side of things?
I think generally people were quite understanding. There was one kid at school who used to always tell me to stop smoking or something.
Right,
so,
yeah, I've had that
cool
comment.
And he knew about myself, so I was like...
Yeah, it's been a twat.
Right.
With people you didn't know then, were you okay with coughing? Or would you think, oh no, what? Because this was always my thought pattern of like, oh my god, what are they going to think? Are they going to think I'm contagious? I just went through everything.
No, I didn't really go through that. I just thought, well, I've got a cough and there's nothing I can do about it.
Oh, okay.
It is what it is.
So that's probably a better way to think about it, really, isn't it? How do you stay motivated to take care of yourself?
Do you want to live or not?
Okay, that's pretty deep.
Well, yeah, but if you want to live, you've got to take care of yourself, or you ain't gonna be here, are you?
She quite like that. Straight to the point. For me, it's just routine. I just get into such a routine that I don't know anything else, any difference. So...
I think that's a valid point, actually. I think people have said to me, how do you take all these tablets or do all these nebulizers or whatever, and I've never known any difference. It's always been part of my life.
How do you think you having CF impacts your friends, family and partner?
I think it probably worries them, concerns them, maybe a bit of fear.
Right, okay. Fear of the dark? Fear of the dark. I never find that sun's always there.
You need help.
Do you know the song?
No.
No. Okay. Close that one out then.
Yeah.
Okay, we've moved around again. Have we? Yeah.
When you lean forward, you're in my camera.
Well, I won't lean forward then, will I?
Get out my camera, bitch!
Yeah, I think you're probably right. It's probably more fear and worry. I don't know, you have to ask them. Really?
Next.
So how does having CF impact? Oh, I've gone a bit Australian there. Good day, mate.
Good now, mate.
You ready?
I am. I'm not sure you are.
How does having CF impact your mental health?
It's strange because if I look back to when I was younger, I think I handled it a lot better when I was a kid.
Okay.
I was just very strong-minded, very strong-willed.
In what way?
Couldn't make me do anything I didn't want to do. To an extent that is still true, but I was very determined, I would say. This is an example. I went to a clinic and I was very well. I was sat outside his room waiting to see him and I coughed. Just one solitary cough. Completely dry and clear. If anything, it was maybe even just clearing my throat. Just as I did that, he walked past.
Right.
And straight as soon as that happened, I must have been like 10 or something, and as soon as that happened, I was thinking, oh, here we go. It's going to be time for IVs, just because he's had me.
Right, okay, yeah.
That was the answer for everything. 2 weeks
Yes,
IVs.
Yes.
There I am at 10 years old, and I'm saying to this doctor, well, can we try something else first? I don't really want like 2 weeks off of school and have IVs and everything. I managed to twist his arm. So this was on a Friday,
Right.
and he said, I'll give you the weekend on oral antibiotics, and if you come back on Monday and your lung function is back up, you don't need the IVs. He then prescribed me augmentin oral antibiotics, which I'm allergic to.
Oh.
Which he knew I was allergic to.
What?
Which I said, I'm allergic to this. And he said, well, you've not had it for a few years, so I'd like to try again.
What? That's so dangerous.
They'll make me vomit within like 10 minutes. And he said, if you're not getting on with them again, then I will personally deliver an alternative antibiotic to your house tonight on the Friday night. As predicted, I got home, took the augmentin, was sick. I don't know if it's going to be a bit too much information, but I was sick and like a load of phlegm came up as well.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'd like swallowed a load of phlegm and that was doing something, or whether it's coming off my chest.
So it probably cleared a lot of stuff.
That's literally what happened.
Oh, really?
So as soon as that happened, I was like, ooh, I can breathe. Right? And then he comes around the house with these like other antibiotics, and I'm like, yeah, play it cool. So like, yeah, they didn't work. I was sick again. So, okay, we can have these. So I had them. I went back on the Monday and blew like 98%. I'm like, cool, so I don't need these IVs then.
I was always like that with doctors suggesting IVs. I'd be like, give me some time. So I feel like sometimes with doctors, they just they go down the medical route straight away rather than...
Particularly back then, like I would have never been out of hospital.
Really?
Because it was always, well, we need IVs then.
Yeah. So when was the first time you went into hospital? How old were you?
I was 11 or 12.
Oh, right,
first time IVs.
Okay. I was 9. And I was like really proper ill.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh yeah, you need to come in for 2 weeks of IVs. And I was like, what's that? And then they said about having a needle in your arm for 2 weeks. I was like, especially for someone who's needle phobic. I know I've definitely argued with doctors.
I get it because they probably feel that they have a responsibility to, especially at a younger age, to protect your lung function and
get you to the best that you can be for as long as you can. Yeah. So there is that side to it.
That you've got to have that balance if you can between actually trying to lead a normal life and staying healthy. Yeah.
Which is quite difficult.
Yeah, it is.
Oh no, wait, we didn't even talk about mental health, did we?
Oh, we skipped that one, didn't we?
This was the whole question.
We're doing well.
How does having CF impact your mental health? Well, like I've said, I always used to squash it all down. I never got brought up in clinics, ever. And I do feel like that's one thing that should be sort of implemented earlier on, is someone there to talk about the mental health. You have the option to speak to a psychologist, but I feel like it should be just as important as seeing someone like the dietitian or the physio. Speaking for myself, but it is a strain living with a chronic condition on your mental health.
I feel like it can affect you a lot more when you're not well. If you're well and stable, it's definitely not as heavy going.
Very good point.
What do you think is something that has happened which has affected you most mentally to do with CF?
I think when I found out that there was a life expectancy, that proper messed me up. But that was a pivotal moment that really sort of shaped my mental health, I guess, over the next couple of years, because I remember seeing it and I just felt so small.
Yep.
And that made me close down quite a lot. What about for you?
The life expectancy definitely had some sort of impact. I'm not sure how much. I always kind of felt that impacted the people who know me more than it did me.
Okay.
I always found I was lucky my parents didn't wrap me up in cotton wool. I could go to cub camps and scout camps or pretty much do whatever I wanted. But I wonder if that was because of that.
I want to get as much life as possible.
Yeah.
Right, okay, yeah.
I don't know.
It could be that. Or it could just be a balance.
Yeah, well, they might just never wanted me in the house and thought, well, we'll just send him around as mates. I think the biggest thing that has affected me, without a shadow of a doubt, is having been a mixer and knowing a lot of people with CF, is when you lose CF friends, for sure.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it always makes you reflect on your own mortality as well at the same time. It's natural, isn't it? You look and you think, well, how long have I got left then? Yeah,
I can imagine that being pretty shit. How has the COVID and shielding affected your mental health?
That feels like a very separate issue to CF. I think I just had a lot of time on my own, a lot of time not working, and a lot of time to really think and reflect on probably my whole life, really.
I guess you've never really had that time before?
Never had that sort of break from, I started working, I was about 17 I think. Yeah, I had a lot of time to think and reflect on life.
Did you do anything fun during those 7 months?
I was very drunk.
Oh right, okay.
For a large proportion of the time.
Was that fun then? Was that, yeah?
It was alright. I had a wicked suntan as well.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Put SPF on?
Always. Every
correct answer.
Single day of my life.
How has Kaftrio affected your life in regards to potentially being able to do more than you could before?
I can definitely do more than I used to.
Yeah.
I think I was at a point with working full time. I went for a long time where I would work Monday to Friday, and then just my weekends was just recovering. And evenings,
right,
just recovering in the evening so that you can go to work the next day, or recovering at the weekend so you can start another week.
In that cycle.
Yeah. And now I feel like I actually, don't get me wrong, I still have bad days where I'm tired if I overdo it. I think the biggest thing for me that I've realised is that my life was slowly becoming more restricted due to being more and more tired and still working. I was having to sacrifice so many things that I wanted to do, or even just something simple. If your mate texts you and said, "Oh, do you fancy going to the pub Friday night?" You're thinking, well, if I go to the pub and get pissed on Friday night, then Saturday's a write-off, and then I've only got Sunday to recover, and am I going to be able to work all the next week with like 1 day's rest? Oh, I don't know. Whereas now I just go and get drunk
any day of the week at work.
When your best friend is Gareth,
it's a messy night when Gareth's around.
Whenever he's involved, I think.
Oh, sorry, we moved around again.
Yeah, we were carrying on with the lap.
Carry on.
But an example of Kaftrio is just my energy levels are so much better that I can do things now. Are you okay there? Put a fly in there. What the fuck?
It's gonna fly out. It's very cool.
Yeah, but you just spent most of your drink. There's all left in there, mate. I would give you a top up, but I can't do it. I would just start this bit again. Just when you're ready, take your time.
I could just use that camera.
No, because you're going in front of that camera, so
you can't see me.
Yeah, you can hear you.
Oh yeah.
You're done? You're not done, are you?
I'm good.
For real, not for play.
Yeah, for real.
So.
Can we just get through this now, please?
Yeah. I think an example of you're not ready, are you? You're still not ready.
That's fine. Only carry on.
Okay, so she's dying, but I'm going to carry on talking anyway. She'll be back in a minute. An example of how Kaftrio has helped those my energy levels just day to day. This is so bad. Stop laughing.
Stop looking at me.
I'm talking to you.
Okay. Okay. So carry on.
Yeah, proper got the giggles.
No, I'm good, I'm cool.
Yeah, you're not good, you're not cool.
See, it's your fault.
I can't wait
that
for
was your fault.
I can't, yeah, because you're just like...
I'm gonna take that bit.
Yeah, I know
Make
you
a
are.
gif out of it. I'm gonna put the gif on my story when we post it.
You are such a...
That's so funny.
Are we done? Can we continue now?
Yeah, continue, please.
Okay, so an example of Kaftrio though is just
I was fine.
you're not fine.
That was you that time.
You're dying over there.
Okay. I'm good.
Never work with children or animals. Okay, Eveling is what we're learning. An example. Oh my it's here. So an example of how Kaftrio has helped is I just can't do it. Can I look at you? What the has got into you? You need a time out, mate.
I think it's because I'm hungry.
It's literally going to take like a minute to finish this off.
Okay, go.
A good example of how Kaftrio has helped. Really? I love motorbikes. The last bike I had was 2018, and I got to the point where I just probably only rode it a handful of times a year because I'd love it, I'd get excited, I would take it out, have a great day on it, but then the amount you pay for it the next day, you're just absolutely exhausted.
What's that?
It can be quite physical, riding a bike.
Yeah. You go in a slow lane?
Yeah, I'd dice it with all the trucks and lorries, it's great. But within 3 months of being on Kaftrio, I had bought another motorbike again. And I can ride it and I get a bit tired, but nothing like I used to. And this bike is a lot harder to ride than the bike I last had as well.
Oh no, that's good. It gives you, just about to have some crayons. Actually, I just need one.
Oh, so that's crayon, just like it would be if you had two.
Yeah, I didn't realise it actually exhausted you out
Yeah,
so
I was
much.
absolutely wiped out every time before.
So Kaftrio has done good things.
Absolutely.
Is there anything you feel you can go and do now that you couldn't before?
I can exercise easier,
Yes, so can I actually.
but I have lost the motivation for it because I don't need to do it
Yeah,
to stay
that
well
is the
anymore.
issue, isn't it?
So it was
It
like
is.
a bit of novelty to begin
Yeah.
with. Whereas I used to run like at least once a week to help me clear my chest,
Alright.
I don't need to now, so I don't.
Yeah. No,
Basically.
exact same.
It's
Oh.
way too much. Nothing.
What'd you say? What was it like at school? Did you feel, or were you ever made to feel different for having CF?
I think generally people were really good about it and accepting of it at school. Certainly all the teachers were really good about it. Some understood it better than others, I think.
Okay.
I remember one teacher in my secondary school, she got a chest infection. She came and found me in school and she said, "How do you ever sleep?" I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She goes, "Well, I've got a chest infection at the moment and all I do is just cough and wake myself up all night." And you're like, yeah, welcome to my world.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, "Hey, but how do you live like this? Like, how do you do it?" So I think people like that understand. That same teacher actually said to me at one stage, "Oh, are you okay? Like, you look like you've lost a bit of weight," kind of thing. And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just a bit tired or whatever." Standard excuse. Then my next lesson, I was in PE, and she sent somebody who she was teaching in another class to find me in my PE lesson and give me a Mars bar.
Really?
Yeah.
Did she bring some crayons?
There were no crayons supplied. No, crayon.
You just said
no,
crayons.
crayon.
Oh, it's too close. You just said crayons.
Crayon supplied. Not crayons supplied.
You just said it again.
Yes, to differentiate the difference between the two. Quit trying that one.
Did she go and bought you a Mars bar? That's
Yeah.
quite nice. For me, no one really knew about CF.
Okay.
Maybe some of the teachers did, but and even some of them weren't great about it.
Really?
And I know I've had letters home about absence before. Did you ever used to get that?
I don't think so.
My mum used to get proper angry about that.
I think I would, yeah.
Because it was like, well, she has this condition. She's been in hospital, like,
Yep.
and her attendance is below average. Oh my god.
Who knew?
Ridiculous. But yeah, I probably would like to think now schools are a little bit more understanding.
I would have thought so.
That sort of thing. I don't know. Ooh, do you think you were treated differently from your non-CF siblings?
It's really hard for me to answer that because I've got an older sister and an older brother who are a lot older than me, and then I've got another older sister who's only 3 years older than me. So Lucy, who's 3 years older than me, has Down syndrome, and because Will was so much older at the time, it was only really me and Lucy at home a lot of the time, and obviously because she's got Down syndrome, it's a completely different, another set of needs. So I don't feel I've got a comparison to a normal, I hate to use that, but you know, a normal sibling to compare it to, really.
What is normal?
Not you.
Right, it's the end of that then. See you later on your bike. Literally on your bike. How does having CF as an adult compare to having CF as a child in the context of managing your mental health?
Who's going first on this one?
I think I've kind of already answered this one because I didn't know what mental health was back when I was a child. Yep. Compared to now, I'm much more aware, and I think I'm much more astute.
Smart.
I'm impressed.
I like it, yeah.
Good use of astute.
Language.
Now that I'm an adult, is where I was going with that.
I think I was a lot more resilient as a kid than I am now. A lot more headstrong, but not always in a good way.
Okay.
But I'm more aware now of things.
Okay.
Positives and negatives, by the way. I think it's pretty even, really, to be honest.
Okay. So what as a
child and as an adult for me.
Okay, that's interesting. Were you more worried or sad or depressed as a child or an adult? Or have you experienced less or more support geared towards you as a child or as an adult? Curious what support you think is appropriate for adults as opposed to children.
Can you repeat the question?
Were you more worried or sad or depressed as a child or an adult? Let's start with that.
An adult.
Yeah, same.
Progress.
Or have you experienced less or more support geared towards you as a child or an adult?
I don't really know, because I don't remember much from when I was a kid from that side of things.
I think now that I have been quite open about my mental health, like people are aware of it, so there's more support there. Whereas before, when I was a kid, just wouldn't say anything.
Yep.
And like I said before, like there is no support when you are in clinic. I don't know about you, but in annual reviews, you have to fill in this survey. And I watched a video the other day from Elena. I'll link that video below. But one of the questions in there, the guy said about the survey. Did you ever used to fill out surveys about mental health?
I think so. Yeah.
It's like on a scale of like 1 to 10. How are you feeling? And like most likely. And I just found that it's just a statistic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like, we're not a statistic. At the end of the day, there's more to it than just a survey.
Yeah.
Working out. And I used to lie on those things all the time. I was like, oh yeah, I'm fine, because I didn't want anyone to know how much I was struggling.
I remember I had an annual review appointment a few years ago. I got proper caught out with this.
Right.
Yeah, they brought it in on an iPad. And I had to log in and do it on the iPad, and I thought, I wasn't doing great mentally at the time. I was completely honest with my answers, but I was aware enough to think, well, I'll be honest with my answers, I'll deal with this next time I see my team, which would be like 3 months, and by then I'll probably be feeling a lot better. What I didn't bargain for was they came back in 20 minutes later and I'm like, oh, so you're not doing too good right now. I'm like, oh, goodness sake.
That's good that you were honest though. So what did they do after that?
They kind of pestered me a bit if I wanted to speak to somebody, which I didn't, and that's about it really. They were quite insistent, but so was I. So.
Determined, headstrong.
Yeah, that one.
I think, like I've already said, having some kind of mental health professional be implemented in clinics, just like the physio and stuff. I feel like that would go a long way, especially when you're in paediatrics and you're born into that. That is the natural routine.
Yep.
So you don't know any different.
Yeah,
like
sure.
You're stuck different now. But
rather than being an adult and oh, this is new.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
That way you kind of build up trust. I feel like trust is really important when you're speaking to a mental health professional.
Yep.
That stuff, you have to trust them in order to feel comfortable enough to open up. Because I know when I started counselling, like I would just sit there and just not say anything. I couldn't even look at her.
Okay.
Because I'd never really opened up before. But now, like I talk her head off. Like, she's probably sitting there like, oh, here we go. It's hard to break into that. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I think it doesn't feel natural, especially with a stranger.
Yes.
Or what starts off as a stranger.
Yes. And that's why I feel like breaking into it earlier on in life would improve so many kids' lives. What I really wonder is whether you think about if and when you might succumb to this shitty disease.
Yeah, you definitely do think about it.
Yeah.
Probably less so now that I'm on Kaftrio and I'm lucky enough that that's working pretty well. Probably what makes me think about that the most, or has done in the past, is when I lose CF friends. Yeah. For sure, that's definitely the biggest sort of gets me thinking on that one.
Definitely makes sense. For me, I just don't think about long term. I don't think about future too much. Which I guess in some ways is a good way to sort of live, because you're just living for the here and now. Rather than worrying about what's going to happen, what could happen, what might not happen.
Do you feel like that maybe stops you planning things though?
Depends what.
Anything long term?
It probably does put some kind of blockade on it.
Like how kind of far do you allow yourself to plan things?
Really?
Yeah, 5 years?
No, oh god, no, I wouldn't look 5 years. I find the vast majority of people with cystic fibrosis are very positive. What do you feel sparks that in us?
Because if you start looking at the negative sides, you're going nowhere fast.
Yeah, I don't think I can top that. That's pretty much it, isn't it? Okay, with Kaftrio now being available, what in your opinion is the next step and the dream for those with CF?
I don't know if it's the next step, but certainly the dream is gene editing, I believe. It would be nice to see the next step, whatever that may be, to include everybody.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Because Kaftrio, for those who don't know, only applies to 90%. Although I feel like it's more than 90% now.
But yeah, so they've added some genes
onto
onto the eligible list, haven't they, now?
So it's not everyone with CF is eligible for it, but some are. So it would be nice to see something for everyone. mRNA, I think that would probably be the next step.
Hopefully.
This has been a very long video.
I've been here for about 5 days. I've not been allowed in the house. I've been
cross-infection, that's why.
Slightly watered, not fed.
Well, if you've made it to the end of this video, then
congratulations.
Drop an emoji of. It's up to you, it's your video. You go.
It's not my video, is it?
You're part of it. You're part of it. You're part of it.
Part of it. A motorbike.
A motorbike in the comments below. Thank you.
You're welcome,
Mr. Hatfield, for joining in on this video for CF Week. I'm not going to do the outro because I get mocked for it. So thank you so much.
No, do it because we can mock it live. Yeah, it'd be amazing. Let's go.
He always mocks me for the outro, which I don't do anymore because of that reason.
Because of me? Don't let me stop your fun.
No, because of you and many other people. Anyway.
I've not mocked it. I'd like to point that out.
No, you mock it all the time. Anyway, thank you so much for watching.
Say it. No?
Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next
In
time.
the next one.
Hi! Well, that's that then. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Help me. Please. Send help. 999. Thank you.
Of Bristons. What?
That's cool.